I never imagined that taking a job at a secluded maternity home would lead me into the most horrifying experience of my life. My name is Dr. Aisha, and I was assigned to the Yamato Maternity Center, a private yet mysterious facility deep within the mountains of Japan. The place had an eerie silence, and the moment I stepped in, I felt something watching me. The head nurse, Miss Tanaka, greeted me with a forced smile. "You must follow the rules here," she warned. "Never enter the basement. Never listen to the cries at night. And most importantly, never question the management." My first few days passed uneventfully, but the patients, they were all strangely quiet. Their eyes were hollow, their faces pale. Some would clutch their stomachs and whisper, "She is coming." I tried asking Miss Tanaka, but she merely shook her head, refusing to speak further. One stormy night, I heard it. The sound of a woman crying, low, guttural, and filled with agony. It came from the basement. Despite the warnings, my curiosity got the best of me. I descended the stairs, the air growing colder with every step. The walls were damp, and an unbearable stench filled my nose. And then, I saw it. A room filled with cribs, but inside them were not babies, only rotting dolls, their glass eyes reflecting my horror. In the center of the room stood a woman dressed in a hospital gown, her stomach grotesquely swollen. Her face was obscured by long, stringy black hair. She slowly turned to me, revealing hollow sockets where her eyes should have been. "I carried them all," she whispered. "But they were never mine." The doors slammed shut behind me. I turned to run, but an invisible force held me in place. I felt hands, cold, skeletal hands, grasping my arms. The ghostly woman moved closer, her mouth stretching into an unnatural grin. "You will carry them next." The next thing I knew, I woke up in my own room, drenched in sweat. Miss Tanaka stood beside me, her expression grim. "You saw her, didn't you?" she asked. I nodded, unable to speak. She sighed. "Yashoda. She was one of the first patients here. The doctors, they experimented on her. They wanted to create the perfect child, but all they did was doom her to eternal suffering. She died, but she never left. Now, she searches for others to share her pain." I left Yamato Maternity Center that very night, but even now, I still hear the cries of unborn children. And sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I see her watching me from the shadows, waiting for the day I return to finish what she started. I never believed in ghosts, at least not until I set foot in the cursed Ryokan in Kyoto. My name is Hiroshi Tanaka, a paranormal investigator, and I was invited by the owner of the Yamamura Ryokan to investigate a series of strange occurrences. The guests reported whispering voices at night, shadows moving along the corridors, and an overwhelming feeling of dread near the old cherry blossom tree in the garden. The owner, an old man named Kenji Yamamura, looked exhausted when I arrived. "Something is here," he muttered. "It doesn't want us here." That night, I set up cameras and audio recorders throughout the Ryokan. As I sat in my room reviewing old case files, I suddenly heard soft sobbing. I rushed out and followed the sound down the dimly lit hallway, where I saw her, a young woman dressed in a white kimono, standing near the cherry blossom tree. Her long black hair covered most of her pale face, but her sorrowful eyes glowed in the dark. When I called out to her, she vanished into the night like mist. The next morning, I questioned Kenji about the woman. He hesitated before telling me the tragic story. Decades ago, a woman named Aiko had stayed at the Ryokan. She was the daughter of a noble family, but she had fallen in love with a commoner. When her father found out, he ordered her to be locked inside the Ryokan to keep her away from the man she loved. Heartbroken and desperate, Aiko took her own life beneath the cherry blossom tree. Since then, guests reported strange occurrences, and some even claimed they had been attacked by an unseen force. Determined to uncover the truth, I performed a spirit summoning ritual that night. As I recited ancient chants, the temperature in the room dropped. The candles flickered violently, and a powerful gust of wind slammed the doors shut. Then, I heard Aiko's voice. "Leave or suffer." A shadowy figure emerged from the corner, its twisted face contorted with pain and rage. Before I could react, an invisible force threw me across the room. Pain shot through my ribs, but I forced myself to stand. "Aiko, I know your pain," I shouted. "Tell me what you want." The spirit let out a wail, and suddenly, I was overwhelmed by a vision: Aiko, crying beneath the cherry blossom tree, her father standing above her with a furious glare. He held a knife. She didn't take her life, she was murdered. As the vision faded, Aiko's spirit looked at me with sorrow. She whispered, "Tell my story," before vanishing into a swirl of cherry blossom petals. The next morning, I told Kenji what I had seen. He was horrified but relieved. With the truth revealed, we held a ritual to free Aiko's spirit. That night, for the first time in decades, the Ryokan was silent. No whispers. No shadows. Just the gentle rustling of cherry blossoms in the wind. I left Kyoto with a heavy heart, knowing that some spirits just need to be heard. And as I walked away, I swore I saw Aiko standing under the tree, smiling at me before disappearing into the sunrise. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video to show your support and help us create more content like this. Share it with your friends and family who love thrilling and spooky tales. Comment below your thoughts, theories, or your own scary experiences. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to TerraFlix and hit the bell icon to never miss a chilling story. Stay tuned for more spine-tingling adventures.